kind of share this with people who don't believe it or who aren't interested?
A few. What's interesting is when I first started on Facebook and I had less than 100 likes into 2012, I got more interaction. It actually got to a point at one time where I was like, Lord, I don't even want to turn on my computer because I got to deal with these guys. And I set up rules because some of them were trolls, some were not. Some of
Hmm.
them I still pray for. But that's actually died down a lot. And with me, especially with every time I have a child, I get really hormonal and I just can't handle it emotionally. So maybe I'll start doing more things that will attract attention. But so far, I let them come to me and they haven't been. I've had a couple of trolls that I just ban on site because trolls are trolls and you don't
Right.
feed them.
Hmm.
But actual interactions where they ask questions that are worth answering, I haven't had much lately. But
All right.
mostly I'll leave that to the guys. They can handle it.
Okay. I was just curious. You said before that you're into apologetics, but of course the site is Creation Science for Kids. Do you do other apologetics, like discussing the failures of atheism or how Islam, Mormonism are different?
Yeah.
And do you get into
Mm.
that on your website?
No, not really. I leave, and that's one of the things is I'm very free, and I'll tell parents, "Hey, here are the resources. These are where I go, so you can go." But I'm more limited in my scope because for the most part, kids aren't running into that.
Okay.
It's more just this humanism. Yeah, so I understand it, and I'm not that interested in it myself. I have listened to some, but that's not really an area of my. You can only focus on so many things.
Okay. Well, let me throw a few things at you anyway, just to see what
Hmm.
your answers are.
Okay.
Imagine maybe one of your kids makes friends with another kid, and they say, my family doesn't even believe in God. Why is it you think God exists? Because
Hmm.
every form of media tells you this is just fantasy fairy tale. Why is it that
Yeah.
anyone should believe God exists in the first place? How would you
Uh-huh.
answer that to your kids, or how would you help your kids know how to answer that?
Yeah. I'd probably start with, okay, everybody has a worldview and some are true, some are false. How do you know? Because everybody believes their worldview. So it can't be just because somebody believes it that it makes it true. We don't, if you have any sense at all, you know that everything being relative doesn't really work in the real world. Certainly doesn't work with gravity. And then I say, okay, so considering they believe one way, we believe another, what can we do to look at it? And then we would say, okay, what are they basing theirs on? They're basing it on their own experience and other humans that they trust. What are we basing ours on? God, and he claims to be God, and he has given us his word. And then after you've looked at that, the big picture, then you could come down to, okay, so what do we see when we look at the world around us? Do we see that people are basically good, which is an atheist assumption on the most part. And it is as, oh, I can't remember if it was Chesterton or one of those guys said, that is the one theological statement that is empirically verifiable that people have sin nature. So you don't have to teach them to sin, much as
Right.
we try to deny. And then I would start bringing it down to, okay, so if you compare these two worldviews on different topics, whether it's geology or human nature or the way history is going, what do you see fits the facts the best? So that's probably how I would come at it. And again, that is something that I'm in the active process of learning more about.
Okay. Well, let's take it to your specialty. That
Okay.
you know that at some point your kids are going to make friends with people who say evolution is science. It's scientifically
Mm-hmm.
proven. What you believe is, well, the Bible says this, therefore reject science. How do you
Mm.
start that conversation? How do you teach them to engage that?
Yeah. So again, you start with the assumptions. They're assuming that things just happen on their own, that the universe essentially made itself beginning with a big bang, and they have already a priori ruled out a worldwide flood. We have not. We're coming at it from a totally different viewpoint. And then you say, okay, which one ends up fitting the facts the best after we've established the underlying assumptions? I love to get to those assumptions. What is underneath why they believe? Why do they say the dinosaurs are so many millions of years old? That is really where I start from. And then you look around to see what works out in the real world.